It's a pleasure to connect with you guys through the I Love CVille Network, a network today that's presented by the Clifton in Keswick. Think about the Clifton this holiday season for dinner, for date night, for family dinners, for happy hour. The Clifton in Keswick is a memorable experience with special memories created. Also a phenomenal venue for weddings, events, and corporate retreats, the Clifton in Keswick. A lot we're going to talk about on today's show. The Belmont Bridge, changes are coming to the Belmont Bridge next week. On December 15th, vehicles and pedestrians will be adjusting from one side of the bridge to the other side of the bridge, which will certainly bring confusion on this critical passageway headed to downtown Charlottesville, headed to Albemarle County, headed to Interstate 64. I want to ask you this question. What's caused more difficulties? The Belmont Bridge, which seems to be a project that's been going on for a generation. The Pantops Diamond Interchange, which is a clustered duck, quack, 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 quack. The Fry Springs Neighborhood Bridge project that basically puts some businesses out of business. The Rio Road Route 29 bypass project, or the Zion's Roads roundabout. Which one, in your opinion, caused the most difficulty? Zion's Crossroads roundabout, Fry Springs Station Bridge, Route 29 Rio Road bypass bridge, Belmont Bridge, or the Pantops Interchange, Diamond Interchange. We'll talk about that today. I also want to talk about a statistic I learned this morning on Real Talk. 70% of home buyers in the next 20 years will be Hispanic. This according to the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals. In a nutshell, Hispanics are sitting on stacks of money. And Hispanics, as they become familiar with lending practices, 30-year mortgages, 15-year mortgages, ARMs, 2-1 buy-downs, commercial lending opportunities, the projection is these are going to be the buyers of real estate over the next 20 years to the tune of 70%. That's according to the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and it's backed by some other organizations as well, noteworthy, reputable organizations. I learned this morning on Real Talk. I want to talk about the influence of Hispanics on Central Virginia real estate and what we can expect in the next 10 to 20 years. Also, speaking of real estate, I want to talk this topic. In Montgomery County, Virginia, do you have that map ready to go with the red circle? Judah Wickower, our enterprising and vivacious and outgoing director, has got a map that he's going to put on screen. Let us know when that's on screen. That's on screen there. Will you say that's about 2 hours from Charlottesville? I mean, you got a map. You can use the eye test there. It's still on screen?
Yep.
Look at the screen, viewers and listeners. Look at the screen now. We're looking at a county 2 hours roughly from here. This county roughly 2 hours from here maybe you call it 2.5. Give us the exact Google Map address, Google Map length, if you could. This county, certainly not in an area that's a thriving metropolis of the Commonwealth. 2.5, I would say. Let us know. Not a thriving metropolis by any means. Travis Hackworth, you're watching the program. How far away would you say Montgomery County is from Albemarle County? They've seen their property values in the latest assessments jump 30%. You call that sticker shock? I call that perhaps not able to afford? Are we expecting Montgomery County residents to be able to handle assessments that are doing not just a double-digit increase, but a 30% increase? The county mailed out its taxpayers. This is in the Roanoke Times today. The Roanoke Times reports that Montgomery County has mailed its taxpayers the 2023 reassessment notices. County officials said property values across the locality have on average gone up by approximately 30% from the previous reassessment. 30%. That's mind-boggling there. We'll talk about that on today's show. Let us know when you have a little mileage and some time tracking for us.
The average is about 2 hours, 25 minutes.
So 2 hours, 20 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes away, depending on how fast you go. I make it in 2. My wife makes it 2 hours and 30. You got a locality damn near in southwestern Virginia, far from an economic hub, who saw it reassessments jump 30%. What can we expect in Central Virginia next year? It's no secret inventory is razor thin right now. And as inventory continues to be razor thin, price is going up. And we know the assessments are behind. We'll talk about that on today's program. I also want to highlight some concerning turn of events. The Albemarle County Police Department over the weekend highlighted what appears to be, look, I'm not going to use the G word that rhymes with fang, gang. I'll call it a group. I'll use the word group from now. Gang has connotations that are very concerning. But there's a group of youth that were robbing stores in the shops at Stonefield and assaulting people, and have been doing it for some time. And over the weekend, the Albemarle County Police Department has identified these youth. What the hell, man? You see these coordinated, collaborative efforts in Manhattan, in Atlanta, in Los Angeles. The shops of Stonefield now have groups, I'm not using the word gang, groups collaborating and robbing stores and assaulting people. That topic on today's show, and then I'm going to ask what's going on with Tony Elliott's program. Moments before this show started, news broke that Nick Jackson, 3-time All-ACC star linebacker who led Virginia football in tackles last season. In fact, Nick Jackson, who has led the Cavaliers in tackles in each of the last 3 seasons, has now entered his name in the transfer portal. You have your best player on the football team and Nick Jackson leaving the program. You have your quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, who has just about every statistical category, record-setting category with his name next to it, transferring from the program. Over the weekend, the offensive line coach left Charlottesville and went to Raleigh for NC State. You look at the transfer portal and you see John Paul Flores, an offensive lineman, has entered the transfer portal. Nick Jackson has entered the transfer portal. You see in the transfer portal Nathaniel Beal, a wide receiver. Virginia kicker Brendan Farrell has entered the transfer portal. You see cornerback Fentrell Cypress, wide receiver Sean Moore, and backup quarterback Mark Wagner have entered the transfer portal. Zachary Teeter, Mike Green, transfer portal. Safety Chase Chalmers entering the transfer portal. You have to start scratching your head and asking yourself, long snapper Lee Dudley has entered the transfer portal. What is going on with the program here? Look, I understand Tony Elliott is trying to remake the program in his image. And he's trying to integrate his own system. And he comes from a pedigree, a program back with pedigree and prestige and performance in Clemson. But you're losing talent left and right. And what many thought was a year that wasn't really going to be a rebuilding year in 2022, that ended up being a rebuilding year, is shaping into a rebuilding year in 2023 and potentially beyond. I'm going to ask the question, what is going on with this team? You got a two-shot ready to go, Judah?
Sure.
Let's welcome Judah Wickower, our enterprising, jack of all wits, jack of all trades, vivacious and outgoing director. It is a talk show, Judah. Good Monday afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
30% upticks and reassessments in Montgomery County.
That's going to kill people.
Far from the metropolis of economic development and job creation. Far from an area that's coveted by digital nomads. Far from an area that's coveted by folks working in their basements with ISP addresses, having big city employment opportunities in Northern Virginia. 30%. This is from the Roanoke Times. I'll read it verbatim for you. Are you ready for this?
Yep.
Due in significant part to Montgomery County's growth over the years, its latest reassessment has a substantial number of its residents doing a triple take over their reassessment notices. Montgomery County has mailed its taxpayers the 2023 reassessment notices. County officials said property values across the locality have on average gone up by approximately 30%. County supervisors said they're not quite sure what to do about this right now.
I'm not surprised.
He acknowledged that lowering the tax rate was an option, but wondered if that was enough, one of the supervisors. The board has a work session literally tonight to go over these issues. Some circumstances, housing assessments have jumped 40 plus, it's average 30%. If the average is 30, that means some people are jumping 40 or 50. Yep. Sure, that means some people are jumping 20 or 10. But the average is 30. To put this in perspective, last year, the city of Charlottesville, 10.2 square miles, the city of Charlottesville last year saw assessments jump 12% last year. 12% last year.
Yeah.
Put the map up of Montgomery County. 2 hours and 20, if I'm driving, it's 2 hours from Charlottesville. If my wife's driving, it's 2 hours and 30 minutes. You would not say this is where economic development and tech hubs and universities drive real estate values, where hedge funds drive real estate values, where STEM, science, technology, engineering, math drives real estate values, where Silicon Valley East is transpiring. You would not say that, right?
Probably not. Blacksburg is there, isn't it?
That's not what Charlottesville is.
Yeah. I'm not saying that Blacksburg is driving that. I'm just saying that Blacksburg is there. It's not like it's not like the boonies.
You know when these tax bills come due? June. So between now and June, Montgomery County supervisors are scrambling. Because when your assessments jump 30% at a time of inflation, in a time of your stock portfolios and retirement accounts dropping 15 and 20%, people are freaking the HE double hockey sticks out. And the supervisors are straight up saying that real estate tax rate and dropping the tax rate is not going to be enough to ease the pain here in Montgomery County.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
And the question I ask as we localize it, with it being the I Love CVille show, what's the expectation in Charlottesville City? What's the expectation in Albemarle County? We have a barometer that's 2 hours and change away from us that does not have the real estate value increasing KPIs, technology, big time university, the vineyards, the wineries, the music, the employment, the finance, the 4 years of waxing poetically or waxing nostalgically as a student at the University of Virginia and wanting to come back and working as a digital nomad, those characteristics are much more prevalent here. Do we expect something similar?
I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting assessed with a 30% average raise in home prices. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Erin King, one of Western Albemarle's finest. Erin King, I love when you watch the program. The Queen of Scottsville, EK herself, Erin King. She says she can get there in exactly 2 hours, right outside Radford. Right outside Radford. Thank you, EK. Love when you watch the program, Erin King. I mean, good Lord, guys. If you're not electing people into office that are prioritizing other sources of tax revenue, non-associated with real estate and rooftops, you literally are voting for people that are going to gentrify your community and make it so you cannot afford to live here. Deep Throat. Anonymous, I'm going to get to your comments. Anonymous's comments are coming in fast and furious. They're damn good. In fact, why don't I get to Deep Throat here? Anonymous, DM on Twitter from the I Love CVille Network. Are you ready for these, Jude? I want you to listen to these closely. Put up the map again if you could. Anonymous says this through a DM on Twitter, the I Love CVille Network's version of Deep Throat. It's interesting to also note that Mexico has a very high ownership rate. Okay, this is about Hispanics. We're going to get to this in a matter of moments. All right, Anonymous, I'm going to get to these comments in a matter of moments about Hispanics and how it's going to impact Central Virginia real estate. These are darn good. I want to go back to a two-shot with you, Judah. What the heck do you do about this? I will straight up, Kevin Yancey, I'm going to get to your comments here in a matter of moments in Waynesboro. I'm going to straight up ask you this question. If the real estate assessments in Charlottesville City and Albemarle County, let's just take half of Montgomery County. Let's say they jump 15% year over year. That's half. That's an astronomical amount. If the real estate assessments in Albemarle County and Charlottesville City jump 15%, that means our tax bills on the first week of June and the first week of December, we just paid these bills, jump 15% year over year. Mm-hmm. At a time when groceries, gas, I mean, now it's a broken record. We all feel the pain. What is there to do?
Move away.
I don't see that as, to where? You're going to move to southwestern Virginia where they're experiencing the same thing? This is everywhere. This is not unique to, that's the whole point of me bringing this up to everybody. This is my point to bringing it up to Judah. This is everywhere. This is not unique to Charlottesville or Albemarle County. And choosing to move to somewhere like Montgomery County, not only are you going to potentially feel this sting, but you got no jobs there. You got no jobs there. Instead of moving away, maybe the solution is move into your car.
Well, yeah.
Move into a Winnebago. Move into an Airstream. Have you seen the prices of Airstreams lately?
I can look it up.
Get a roommate. Multi-generational family sharing of households. I'll give you some legitimate oh, this is good from Deep Throat. Deep Throat has this for you. I trust this guy from a stat standpoint. I've met him twice. Once I had the pleasure of shaking this guy's hand. The second, I met him in passing down a hallway. He says, on the assessment front, Jerry and Judah, sales to assess ratio in Charlottesville 2022 year to date is about 115%. So you would think you would see assessments go up by an order of 15% in this area next year. That's the number I utilized. But ultimately, a city could lower its rate to offset higher assessments. The issue is spending. Why is spending rising as fast as assessments? Damn good comment right there. In fact, I'll add some perspective to this. This is why who you elect into office matters. Okay? This is from Heather Lamont Walker on social media, who is a fiscally conservative constituent in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. She posts this on Facebook yesterday, Heather Lamont Walker. Her family's a small business owner. She and her husband own Rockfish Gap Outfitters in Waynesboro. She was a teacher, Heather Lamont Walker. Her daughter is a teacher, Heather Lamont Walker. Heather Lamont Walker is someone I listen to. She said on Facebook yesterday, the public notice and yesterday's daily progress. You ready for this? Charlottesville City has a surplus, AKA carryover funds of, you know how much the surplus is?
No.
$22,917,000. Carryover funds of $22,917,000. Do we not eventually say, figure out a way to curtail spending, local government, elect people into office that want budget neutral spending, where account for every line item, elect people into office that say, this was the budget last year, let's keep it the same this year, and use a fine-tooth comb to assess every line item of spending? Do we want to elect people into office that literally say we need sources of revenue that are not tied to home ownership and commercial real estate ownership?
Yeah. Isn't that why we love Jesse Rutherford so much?
Jesse Rutherford, Nelson County Board of Supervisors. He and I have identical mindsets when it comes to spending and jurisdictions. Absolutely identical, Jesse Rutherford and I. When it comes to spending and manage jurisdictional budgets, he and I have identical mindsets. The city of Charlottesville has a surplus of basically $23 million. Yet City Council is asking the state of Virginia, we're in a Dillon rule state where jurisdictions have to ask Richmond for permission to raise the sales tax rate 1 cent in January. And they're doing it to help fund Buford's renovation. I've said this so many times on the program. When you start raising meals taxes and sales taxes, it's basically a form of gentrification. Young families like my own, young families like your own, or remember when your family was young at one time, how you taught your children in part to be socialized people was taking them to dinners in public at entry restaurants. You wouldn't take them to Fleury or Hamilton's. You would not take them to the Aberdeen barn when they were 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years old because of fear of humiliation. Instead, you would take them to family-friendly restaurants where they could be loud and noisy, like some of our favorites, Peloton Station, Three Notch Brewing Company, Wayside Fried Chicken. But when you start jacking up tax rates and adding more cents to the bill, percentages to the bill, those young families that are getting, and I'm speaking from personal experience, that are getting hammered with formula, with diapers, with doctor's visits, with medical bills from the birth of newborns, from clothes because children grow so fast, they get out of sizes so quickly, from child care costs, they think twice about going to these restaurants to socialize their children. Instead, they may order takeout or just cook the food in home. That's a form of gentrification. This Buford renovation has been in the hopper for City Council for how long?
Too long.
A generation of students? Do we not realize what's happening with Buford? It's becoming so expensive to fund this middle school that we're utilizing the hard work, the sweat equity, and the labor and the backs of citizens to fund the school. And by the time the project is completed, the kids that will benefit from this finished project will not even be a reflection of the families and the students that are in the city today.
Who paid for it?
Who paid for it? You see what I'm saying? The families who pay for Buford today won't be able to live in Charlottesville tomorrow so their kids can enjoy Buford when the project is finished. Did I say that straightforwardly?
Yeah, more or less.
I will try a different approach. And I got to roll my sleeves up for this. I mean, this gets me fired up. Local government is so amped on spending that they don't see forest through the trees. They are utilizing the hard work of today's citizens to pay for a project that's going to take years to finish. And by the time this project takes years to finish, by the time it's done, the people who paid for it, their kids will have already graduated, or the families won't be able to afford to stay in the area any longer. $23 million surpluses in the city budget, raising more money on sales taxes to fund a school. Kevin Yancey says, what's the solution? All right, he's right. Let's get to solutions. Let's get to solutions. You want to go solutions on a two-shot? Let's go banner back and forth solutions. Tara Savage, welcome to the program. Love when you watch the show, Tara Savage. Vanessa Parkhill, we'll get to your comments. Queen of Jack Jewett, Carol Thorpe, we'll get to your comments. Jason Howard, we'll get to your comments. King of Rio. What are the solutions?
Cut down on spending.
All right, here's the first solution. First solution. Elect people into office with mindsets like mine and like Jesse Rutherford. People who have mindsets for neutral budgets year over year, no additional spending, or budgets where the number actually goes down. That can be done. That's the first step. Second step. When you elect people with mindsets like mine or Jesse Rutherford into office, hold them accountable and ask them to find incremental sources of tax revenue for the jurisdiction. I've highlighted the importance of sports tourism. We have a world-class university with a world-class athletic department, but we have no regional or national sports tourism or tournaments going on here. Families come to the area, they spend their money, they stay in hotels, they eat at restaurants, they shop in our stores, they drink beer in our breweries, and they leave without taxing our roads, our schools, our water, and our infrastructure. Find new sources of tax revenue. I've highlighted significant possibilities with the designated outdoor refreshment areas, significant possibilities with sports tourism. I've highlighted significant possibilities with an action plan for Biscuit Run Park. We have a massive park on the Charlottesville-Albemarle County line that is literally doing nothing but costing us money to manage. No festivals, no mountain biking races, no jamborees, no marathons, no cross-country events, no hiking extravaganzas, no outdoor music festival or venues. It's in proximity to the interstate. It's in proximity to the city, multiple counties. It's in the center of Virginia. Last I heard, we're called Central Virginia. Why is there no action plan for Biscuit Run Park? Other ideas. We want solutions, right? Pursue economic development, but persuade, encourage, maybe the word is strong arm, the economic development to hire within the community, as opposed to bringing people from outside the community to this community. You can persuade, strong arm, encourage the economic development to hire within the community while watching payroll and how it transpires and who is hired. Maybe the tax credits for economic development happen based on the amount of people that are hired within Central Virginia or live within a radius of Charlottesville City. Or as Bobby Yarborough, is the King of Redfields watching this program. King of Redfields, are you watching this program today? I hope you're watching the program, Bob Yarborough, because you routinely encourage me and offer positive insight for me. He has indicated that you do a partnership with Piedmont Virginia Community College. Graduates of PVCC, they get fast-tracked into the economic development that happens to this program, that happens through this program that Albemarle Charlottesville City does. Create some kind of pipeline with PVCC and the students and the economic development, the new companies that are encouraged to this area. These are solutions. Are they not?
Sure.
Any solutions you would like to see added?
No, I think you're on the right track. I mean, we certainly need to figure out what we're spending and whether we really need more every year.
This should irritate the hell out of everyone watching the program. When your assessments go up, and if you're a renter, if you're a tenant, you're going to feel this pain too, because the landlord passes this down to you. Don't think because you're a tenant, you're immune to this. Your landlord is passing this down to you. When your assessments go up, if your jurisdiction does not adjust its tax rate, lowering it, you should feel irritated. And if your jurisdiction has any thought about raising the tax rate, you should what? Scream bloody murder?
Yeah. Go to your next go to your next council meeting and tell them what this means for you and your family. And
Carol
your
Thorpe,
neighbors.
Queen of Jack Jewett, jumps in. Jerry, there's a loud, this is the Queen of Jack Jewett, the Queen of Jack Jewett. There is a loud and sizable portion of Charlottesville that marches itself into city council chambers annually, begging them to raise their taxes, to raise all our taxes, property taxes, personal taxes, lodging taxes, meal taxes. No one ever goes in there asking for the reverse. Well, I used to regularly, Carol Thorpe says, a decade ago, and I would get all but laughed out of the room. I told everyone the trend was not sustainable. It would eventually impact those who could least afford it first, and rather than keep them in town, shut them out of the city altogether. Carol Thorpe, excellent comment. I'm going to respond to that comment. You know what portion of the city does that? Raise the taxes, all kinds of taxes. What portion of the city does that? What portion of the community does that?
I'm not
What
sure
group
you're
of people in the community are doing that?
What's that?
What group of people in the community are doing that?
Are you asking politically or?
Come on. What group of people are asking council to raise the taxes?
You talking about Democrats?
No. Socialists. You disagree?
No.
Would you say that's the right answer?
Sure.
Vanessa Parkhill in Earlysville. City Council will look at the $22 million as a gift from Santa. She's talking the surplus. Spend it on some wish list programs that will create long-term expectations, then still try to up taxes to cover school reconfiguration. Ugh, she says. The city of Charlottesville voters have shown they are not interested in electing people with your fiscal mindset, Jerry. That may change if someone with that mindset would run for council in the city. But unfortunately, I think it has been some time since such an independent or Republican has run there, and that does not seem to be a priority for the independents or Democrats who do run. I think it's going to happen in Albemarle County. It'll happen in Albemarle County before it happens in the city, and stand by. And city voters, if you think this is going to if you support this mindset of fiscal conservatism when it comes to budget spending for a jurisdiction, you're probably going to have best luck supporting it in the county first with rah support, maybe financial donations and social media support, because you live in the city. You're not going to vote for that person running in the county, but I can assure you if that mindset starts percolating and gaining traction in the county of Albemarle, it will eventually trickle over to the city of Charlottesville and influence city of Charlottesville voters, because I think there's so many people right in the middle that are literally throwing their hands in the air saying, what the hell is going on? You routinely say that, right?
Yeah.
There's so many people in this community that are throwing their hands in the air saying, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
This quarter is not a quarter anymore. It's like 16 cents. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you're right on. I mean, it's getting crazy, and we need our counselors to look after us.
Carol, you got it exactly right. Carol Thorpe's comment on my Facebook page. Read them, please. Jason Howard is watching the show. He's the king of Rio Road. He said, I was reading Sean Tubbs' latest newsletter. We'll give Sean Tubbs some props here. Let's give Sean Tubbs some props. Jason Howard. I'm going to get to your comment here, but first let me give Sean Tubbs. I will read this live on air and also tag Sean Tubbs on this thread. All right, here's what Jason Howard said. He said, I was reading Sean Tubbs' latest newsletter. $79 million in bonds will be authorized in Charlottesville next year for capital improvements alone. $55.8 million, or excuse me, he says $55.8 million instead of the $79 million. The $79 million is a figure in 2024. That's a lot of capital improvement, dude. That's a lot of capital improvement. And Sean Tubbs does a hell of a job with the community, the Charlottesville, Info CVille, and Town Crier Productions. That's the lead of the show that I had to pass on to you. Show the map again. 2 hours from Charlottesville, a county basically in southwestern Virginia, right outside Radford. So its real estate assessments jumped 30%. That's foreshadowing. You heard that here in December, Judah.
Oh, I know.
I want you to remember this when we get these notices for Charlottesville City and Albemarle County. Let's go eyeball to eyeball on this. That is foreshadowing of what's going to happen to Charlottesville City and Albemarle County.
Yeah.
That does not have the does not have the job opportunities or the digital nomads, the finance refugees, the Silicon Valley East, the science, technology, engineering, math that this area has. That's foreshadowing for what's to come here. Everyone prepare themselves. Did you see the stories about the robberies and attacks in Stonefield?
Yeah.
You saw them?
Mm-hmm.
What do you make of that, dude? I don't want to. Do we use the word gang? Gang has so many connotations.
I'm not worried about the connotations. I'm not really worried, but I mean, coming from
I know you and I aren't worried, but I think we take for granted that we're two males in our 40s who are spry, fit, and can defend ourselves from most circumstances.
I don't know if I could defend myself from
Neither of us could defend ourselves from 4 to 6 people jumping on us.
Yeah.
Yeah. But our mindsets are different than if you were, say,
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Older age, perhaps a single female, right?
Yeah.
What do you make of this? Coordinated attacks in Stonefield.
I mean, some people will argue against this, but when times get tough, crimes go up.
Yeah.
I
think it's part of that.
And times are getting tough. There may be people out there who are hurting for money, and some people turn to robbery and other crimes to help make ends meet.
I think it's definitely part of that.
Not to put a shine on it, but I think that when times get tough, people look to alternate means of making money.
Yeah, I think it's part of that. I think it's part of that. The entry wage ain't paying the bills.
Definitely not.
And the supplemental income is necessary. The second job, part-time job, is almost becoming a must. And some are choosing the second job or the part-time job to be petty larceny. And the unfortunate aspect of this, and I'm not trivializing petty larceny, that's bad, especially in districts like Stonefield.
Yeah.
But when that petty larceny then includes assaults on people in the area, that becomes more concerning.
Yeah.
Okay, so You saw some of this downtown. Now you're seeing it in Stonefield. These were coordinated efforts, folks that were masked up, and the masks were not to stop the spread of COVID-19.
I've also heard of other places. I think I remember hearing someone talking about one of the ACACs. A lot of cars getting broken into, stuff ripped off from cars, and even from lockers inside the ACAC. So
You're talking about the YMCA is the story you're referencing. I read that story as well.
that could be it too.
Yeah, it was the YMCA. Literally in broad daylight. YMCA is the story that was,
Yeah.
I read that. In broad daylight, in the parking lot of the YMCA, broad daylight, vehicles getting broken into in broad daylight at the gym,
Yeah.
and lockers broken into at the YMCA.
And I'm sure it's happening elsewhere, just maybe not with the frequency that would cause people to see a trend the way.
So you attribute this to a byproduct of economic difficulties?
I mean, there's
in
always,
part.
There's always been a bit of this going on, but if we really are seeing a rise in the frequency and numbers of these types of occurrences, then yeah, I would have to say that as wallets get slimmer and belts get tightened, we're going to see more of this.
That's why, I mean, another thing that would solve this solution is the prioritizing of economic development and hiring within the community.
In what?
Hiring within the community. We've got to figure out a way to create jobs within the community.
Yeah.
If this economic development transpires and it's jobs from outside the community, that's just going to amplify the difficulty.
You're going to bring people in here who need to buy houses, and they're going to have, in some cases,
bags of money.
More money than
Bags
somebody
of money.
here.
Yeah. And it's going to push locals out, dude. 100%.
And not everybody can just get pushed out. I mean, not everybody can just.
Jason Howard
up
always
and
makes the
leave.
program better. He says this, it's called organized retail crime. Groups of people going store to store using the same method, working together to gather higher value, easily fenced items. I mean, you see this on social media like TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube,
Yeah.
where like groups of like, is a gang the word?
I don't know what other word you would use. I mean, they're clearly not Crips and Bloods like you'd find in Southern California, but what else are you going to call them?
I mean, you see them on TikTok and Snapchat and YouTube where they target like the Apple Store or Best Buy, and they go in like a flash.
Yep.
They rip out all the expensive equipment. They normally target like iPhones and MacBooks
Yeah.
and iPads, cell phones, smartphones, stuff that they can just grab in their hands and shove in a bag and sprint out the door.
Yeah.
And the interesting, somewhat demoralizing aspect is the retail associates at these locations are trained not to fight them back.
Yeah.
Now, who would risk their life when they're making minimum wage to work on the floor to stop these people from stealing?
Right.
So they literally just let them go.
Yeah.
And because they literally just let them go, it becomes a reoccurring problem.
Yeah. Well, if you're in one of the gangs and you know that everybody in a store is trained to,
You would keep targeting it.
yeah, why not?
My concern, the impact it has, is if it keeps people from hitting these shopping districts because of brand connotations associated with a lack of safety.
There's also the problem of, what is it? Was it Target or Kmart? One of these places is like, look, we're either going to have to start raising prices or we're going to have to start shutting the doors on our stores because we're losing millions of dollars a year. And, that doesn't mean a lot to us, those of us who are...
I think they're going to end up raising the prices because of shrinkage and theft.
That too. But they'll also close stores.
I think they raise the prices because of shrinkage and theft. I don't think their first step is to have security at the door because of risk of lawsuits associated with security and violence.
I think the real sad problem is that a lot of these places in lower income areas will close their doors. Be like, look, we're having the worst of the theft take place in areas like this, and we'll just close our doors. And what does that mean for the decent people that live in that area? It means that they're no longer going to have those outlets.
Which is another version of
gentrification.
Exactly. Kevin Yancey says retail would rather file an insurance claim than keep security in play. Mayor of Waynesboro, Kevin Yancey, we love when you watch the show. This happened in Stonefield. Masked, people with masks, working in coordination, aggressively, targeting high-dollar items, and attacking people that go on their way. And still there are people in this community that call this police propaganda to justify police budgets. When I read that online, I was just at a loss for words. How someone could call this police propaganda to justify police budgets is so out of touch to me. The police is not putting out this press release about youth targeting shops in Stonefield to justify budgets as propaganda. That's out of touch. Call people out on that BS, dude. Kevin Higgins in Greenwood says Walmart is considering closing stores due to theft.
Yeah.
King of Greenwood, thank you for this comment. I read it live on air. Period. Enter send to Kevin Higgins. Deep Throat adds to this. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon yesterday told CNBC that his company has a growing theft problem. Walmart CEO Doug McMillon said that theft has reached levels that are higher than what's historically been the case for the retailer. If that's not corrected over time, prices will be higher and our stores will close.
Yep.
Then Deep Throat says, when the stores shut down, socialists will say the businesses are racist. Oh. The response that I see on Twitter about the business propaganda, or about the police propaganda, that the police using these thefts to justify their budgets and calling it propaganda, legitimately made me nauseous. Jamie Turner, the mayor of Gordonsville, says this: the neighborhood over from us in Culpeper had a series of car break-ins a few weeks ago. It's definitely picking up a lot everywhere.
It's a shame.
It's a shame. Mention this live on air. Thank you for commenting. Enter send to Jamie. It's a shame. And another thing that I'm curious about is, what does this do to drive values to homes in gated communities?
You're saying those types of properties go up because people want to be safer? I would think by this point, the people that can afford to live in those communities are living in those communities.
Will more people want to live in those communities because of this safety issues that are happening?
Sure.
Another concern I have. Will more people shop online because of these concerns? Will more people target gated community living because of these concerns? Will more people want to live and shop online because of these concerns?
Yeah.
Kevin Yancey adds, Walmart's problem is they don't have enough employees to care for customers, let alone security, while 13 members of the Walton family make more in stock dividends every minute than their store managers make annually. Capitalism. Kevin Yancey, I read this on air. All right, one other topic. Something's going on with this football program. And look, a lot of people don't know this. I went to the University of Virginia. I got a job during my third year at the University of Virginia, actually right before my third year started, in the sports department of the Daily Progress, where I was a stringer. A stringer is a part-time staff writer. You on a one-shot? Thank you. So I'm just turned 21. I'm a part-time staff writer under Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe. Jay Jenkins was working there, Chris Wright was working there, Andrew Joyner was working there, John Shiflett was working there, Steve Oberhauser was working there, Jerry Ratcliffe was the sports editor. I'm the part-time guy who's 21, gets to cover, the varsity girls volleyball games and the varsity field hockey games and the high school basketball games and the high school baseball games. This is a great learning experience for me. You learn to write on deadline. You go cover a game somewhere in the Jefferson District. You drive as far as Louisa County, and then you have to sprint back to the newsroom from Mineral. And you get back to the newsroom. This was when the newsroom was a legitimate newsroom on Rio Road. And you sat down on your computer, and we actually had to turn stories in by an inch count. Now it's a word count. Then it was an inch count because it was based on how long the story was in the newspaper, how many inches you got. So Chris Wright or Steve Oberhauser or Jay Jenkins, Jerry Ratcliffe would say, give me 20 inches. And then they would say, you have 14 minutes to write it. 14 minutes and 20 inches is an astronomical of copy that you have to churn out. And you have to get it out because the paper has to go to deadline. And the last thing they want is for the newspaper to wait or to be delayed at press time because of a high school girls volleyball game. That never happened. You literally were told, shut down your file, close it, what's done, we have 90 seconds to proof it, and then the story went to press. So my first job out of UVA, first job while in UVA was a part-time writer. I had some acumen and some success doing this, and that led to a full-time position, a salaried position. Fresh out of UVA, I was making $10 an hour. Benefits. The Media General owned the company at the time. Media General was a terrible parent company. The benefits consisted of some health. It was lousy. It was catastrophic health. And the benefits was 3.5% to 4% matching 401k. Media General stock was worthless. 401k didn't grow. But I had tremendous experience from working with the team and on deadline and creating content. Eventually parlayed that salaried position into an editor job, was the youngest editor in the history of the newspaper. And when I was the editor, I was managing a team of anywhere from 10 to 12 people, many of them in their 50s and 60s. And that's where I really learned how to run a business. Because you were given a budget, had to manage mileage for your employees, you had to manage workflow and output, you had to keep costs in check, you were human resources, you were scheduling, you were a therapist, pretty much did everything. It was like 24, 25, 26 years old when this was happening. And it was in this setting that I learned that working for myself was going to be the future for me. Even as an editor, I got tired of answering to people higher up on the food chain that I thought I could do the job better than them, or output better than them, or visionary better than them, or strategize better than them. Not saying I was right every time, but I was right a lot more than I was wrong. And I realized that very early on. So 15 years ago, I launched my first business, and it's turned into what it is now, where you have a real estate company and 24 tenants, this talk show network that was a loss leader for the B2B business, the advertising agency, then the talk show network took off. Now a business broker division that's doing deals, unfortunately doing deals because of the economic climate where folks are exhausted and tired and want to sell. But it's just this vertically integrated business. And through it all, I realized that this community has a lot of engines that churn or move the economic ecosystem. And you got weddings and events and music and restaurants and core and capshaw and hedge funds and Silicon Valley East. But one of those primary engines is Virginia football. And say what you want, but these 6 or 7 home football games, when the team is performing, routinely bring 50 to 64,000 people to Charlottesville for long weekends. Heavy boozing, heavy eating, heavy partying, and a lot of lodging and hotel stays. And of late, this football team has struggled. And I follow Virginia football as much because I bleed orange and blue. I went to UVA, my dad went to UVA, my brother went to UVA. I follow Virginia football because I'm a diehard sports fan, but I also follow Virginia football because I understand the importance of this program for the local economy. The team is in bad shape right now, man. And this transfer portal, is killing this program. And I don't blame the athletes. I mean, the latest news is star linebacker Nick Jackson is transferring. This is a dude that has led the team in tackles for 3 straight years and is legitimately the best player on the program last year. A second-team All-ACC selection. He entered the transfer program, the transfer portal. This news broke right before the show started. People are sprinting away from Virginia football right now. Players. And look, we all expected some level of attrition because you got a new coach with a new program and a new mindset and a new system. But no one, and I mean no one, expected this level of attrition. The best player on defense is piecing out. The best player on offense, Brennan Armstrong, is piecing out. Wide receivers are turning pro not because they're ready, but because they want to leave. And the people that are replacing these guys, and look, I know the jury's still out, But Virginia is looking to replace Brennan Armstrong with Tony Muskett, a quarterback from Monmouth in the Big South. This Tony Muskett fella pretty much had no big-time offers, zero big-time offers coming out of West Springfield High School in Northern Virginia. Only Coastal Carolina was interested in him. Now Tony Muskett has the dubious distinction of being the under-center quarterback projected to fill Brennan Armstrong's shoes. That basically shows you the Jay Woolfolk era is over under center in Charlottesville. Jay Woolfolk never had a chance. He's the two-sport star, baseball and football. And I'm left scratching my head, like literally and figuratively doing this right now. What the hell is going on? I know you got to give Tony Elliott time because he comes from a program of prestige and pedigree. But what should not have even been one rebuilding year, it should not have been a rebuilding year last year, is shaping out to be a rebuilding year well into season 2. And that hurts not only fans of football, but that hurts merchants and restaurateurs and small music venue owners and breweries and wineries and shops and local economic ecosystems. Not good. Nick Jackson, transfer portal, UVA football. So what do you take from today's show? This is what I think you take from today's show. You gotta start going to the ballot box with momentum and voting people that have mindsets when it comes to spending that will preserve the Charlottesville and Albemarle and Central Virginia that you want it to be. And if you want Charlottesville and Albemarle and Central Virginia to be a playground or a bastion for digital nomads, we're heading in that direction. The fallout of that is Montgomery County 30% real estate tax assessment increases. Giddy up and get ready, because that's coming here. And I'm not saying it's going to be the tune of 30%, but 15% is very likely. And real estate tax rate increases, real estate assessment increases like that will undoubtedly impact families on the financial margin. That's today's show. For Judah Wickhauer, I'm Jerry Miller. It's the I Love CVille Show on a Monday. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30.